Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate your time today and sharing with Fanville. Today, we're going to introduce the benefits of wireless communication. I'll get started in just another minute because I'm noticing people are just trickling in now. I appreciate everybody that was tidy and on time. For those in the EMEA and APAC regions, good afternoon. I'm also recognizing some early risers in Americas as well on the list. I appreciate your time. Thank you. I'll get started in just 1 minute. All right. Good afternoon and good morning to those who just signed on. My name is Tommy Lee. I'm the VP of Sales for North America. And today I'm going to set aside some time to really bring two topics of conversation to your doorstep. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the benefits of wireless communications. And beyond that, what I also want to do is I also want to introduce Linkville. I don't know if you have seen in the previous webinars, but what we have done is we've actually introduced a sub-brand because we recognize that everybody is really confused in terms of when vendors like us come up with brand new products, you end up with a lot of T's and V's and X's and all that type of stuff followed by numbers. And quite honestly, we figure, you know what, since we have such a broad line of products, what we want to do is come up with a sub-brand called Linkville, which is really owned by Fanville. And what this product does is really concentrate on the wireless marketplace. And what we're going to introduce later on today is really a debut product on what we're going to bring forth in Linkville. But what I'm also going to share with you, based on your time today, is not only what I'm going to show you today, but to give you a little bit of a glimpse into other wireless solutions that we're going to be bringing into the marketplace sometime in the future. Okay? So having said that, before I begin, I want to do some house cleaning. When anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and put those questions in the question box within your GoToWebinar client. Feel free to put it there. I'll be more than happy to set aside time at the end of this webinar to address that. In addition to that, I've also included a soft copy of the handouts. So no need to sort of take notes or copy it down. In the handout section within your client, you should be able to click on it and be able to download those handouts for your future reference. Okay? So with that said, let me go ahead and move forward. I explained a little bit about Linkville and that it's a sub-brand, and what I would highly suggest is we put together some really great videos that give you a high-level description about what that brand does moving forward. So what I'm going to do today is really go over 4 major topics. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a wireless technology overview, because not everybody on board here, some of people that are here are total veterans, but some people are brand new that are just kind of getting into this technology. I'm also going to just outline the advantages of wireless communications, sort of the link between Fanville and Linkville. What are really the links? And I just kind of explained that earlier before. And then last but not least, I'm going to go through a description of our W661W portable Wi-Fi phone, which is our debut product falling under Linkville. So with that stated in mind, one of the things I wanted to do is to outline the ability to not only being locked to your desk, but also it really boils down to being able to be mobile. You know, we find out today, especially in the home environment product, that people don't like to be locked in very often. And when you are working in the office, you have to virtually and physically sort of be there on time in terms of communications. So when you go away from your desk and all that and go away, and you may go out for a glass of water, do a lot of different things, you want to be able to have call control. And what call control brings is the ability to go ahead and answer these calls while you're remote. And different types of technology actually bring those type of features to your remote handset. And that's what I wanted to highlight. Now let's go ahead and just talk about wireless technology overview. I'm going to go over really 4 technologies, and the technology that I come close most forth in terms of introducing Wi-Fi technologies is DECT. And I want to sort of outline the differences between the 2 technologies, okay? Now, DECT, first off, is really a long-standing technology. I like to consider DECT as phase 2 of wireless communication products. A long time ago, when we had corded technology, everybody had a cord that typically linked everyone into the kitchen, as well as everybody to their desk at work, and you couldn't really move beyond where that cord was. And what DECT did is people began to move away from the kitchen or from away from their desk, and being able to sort of pick up a call and be able to do remote work or away from one single location that gave you sort of a limited ability to roam around. Now, what the interesting about DECT is that DECT requires its own specific infrastructure. So that means that in addition to buying a handset, you also have to buy a main base station as well as any extender modules which you might need to sort of supplement that DECT in order to make it effective or to provide you with that range. So it's sort of like a wireless technology that's built on itself so that you're limited to the boundaries of where that DECT brings you. That aside, by DECT, we also have Bluetooth technology. And what Bluetooth really is a supplemental wireless technology. In fact, very often you might find that DECT is also used in conjunction with Bluetooth, or more popularly, what Bluetooth really does is it couples a lot with LTE, because very often nearly everybody in the world walks around with a mobile phone. And mobile phone connects to your LTE or whatever wireless environment you have outside, but you also couple that with headsets that you have as well. And very often the headsets are connected wirelessly through Bluetooth, and as well as many other types of things. But the problem is that Bluetooth is really limited in terms of being able to provide up to 30 feet or 10 meters of distance between you and the actual device. But what it is, it's really near-term communications that really provide both audio communications from one point to the other. Then the last 2 is Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a technology that Fanville is devoting lots of resources towards, and there's a big reason why. Wi-Fi has evolved over the years. Very early, when we just introduced 802.11b, it was really limited to only 11 megabits per second. Or as it gone up and graduate, now you're going ahead and really start entertaining larger bandwidth technologies going up to 54 megabits per second as Wi-Fi started expanding. The latest release that we have is sort of Wi-Fi 6, where now all of a sudden the ability for the Wi-Fi to really exist as a sort of a main infrastructure, being able to support much wider bandwidth, is now increased up to the latest Wi-Fi 6. And all the technology that I'm going to introduce is really backward compatible to all the different technologies, so that technology has really moved forward and gotten really good over the years. Last but not least is near field communication. This is probably the least used out of most of the 3 other technologies that I talked about. The people that really use near field technology is really technology that people use, Apple Pay or Android Pay. Those type of technologies, when you go ahead and pay and you wave your mobile phone over the payee, you're using NFC technology to really transmit that data from one point to another. The problem is that it really is meant for extremely short distances. Now, you don't want to have your wallet to be open to all of your neighbors, but by any chance, for what it was designed for, it was really meant to establish communication. NFC is also used very often. We just introduced a brand new remote speakerphone, CS30, which enables people to sort of pair up their mobile technology just with a simple swipe or a touch of their mobile handset, and using this to go ahead and pair up the 2 with a quick flash. And that's what the real advantage of that technology is. Now let's talk about the advantages of wireless communications. Now, very often people go ahead and talk about, there's no need for wiring cable. Of course, that's very obvious. That became very evident in the expansion of hospitality locations, where at the very beginning, everyone used to have a box that existed in the unit. People sort of connected their PCs onto a wired cable. Eventually, now nearly all hospitality locations as well as businesses, almost every store in the world actually has a Wi-Fi system that enables end user connection onto the internet, providing you with really, really quick access. You also have lower financial costs because then once you install these access locations, henceforth you have a wider coverage in terms of enabling people to access the data that they really want to. But the primary infrastructure is really to enable the support of mobile PCs, phones, and enabling public access. And henceforth, because nearly every infrastructure you go to, whether it's personal or business, you're going to come across this technology, and it's still growing as of today. And henceforth, that's why Fanvil has really decided to devote our resources in investing in a sub-brand with Linkville. Now, beyond those three technologies, very often I hear the argument, well, gee, you can go ahead and load a soft client onto your mobile phone. Technically, that is very true. You could load a technical. However, a lot of people are neglecting the legal aspects of being able to use a personal mobile phone to host it. Now, very often when you have a very small business, you might be able to have 100, compliance, but there are very often people that are resistant in doing that. Some people may want to get compensated. And as well, you might have situations where if they receive a call and they get into some unforgiven accident, whose fault is it? Things get really kind of crazy, and there's a big gray area from a legal and business perspective in being able to use a personal mobile device to entertain for business use. So you have to really consider both things. And when companies usually get very big legal wise, then you might end up having many organizations being able to invest in infrastructure that they can control. They can go ahead and actually download and control the actual environment where people can actually receive their wireless communication. So those are all the things that people really need to understand, what the business policies are in using it, and finding out what the reach is before one can quickly adopt using a soft phone client and doing these type of things. Now, a little bit back on Fanvil, I'll take a step back. The great news about Fanvil is that we are a large manufacturer, which we build lots and lots of audio and video IoT devices. And what that really means is that we develop SIP endpoints. What are SIP endpoints? Endpoints are really devices that we build that enables the end user to have in touch with technology. So we build things like phones, access equipment, intercoms, as well as PA systems and more. And we've been doing this for 20 years. We were established way back when, and I'm going to show you a real quick way of our quick roadmap, just to give you a little bit of background. Not only is our headquarters based in Beijing and Shenzhen, but we also have a global group. I myself located in the Americas, and there are people located throughout the world to provide local support to our partners. Over the years, we have established back in 2002, of which we climbed all the way to 2022 today. And this is where we're introducing the Linkville portable phone, as well as we had a release of our new V-Series IP phones as well. And as we've gone through the migration, one realizes that, we have come a really, really long way. If you know, back in 2016, we really released the first multi-display IP phone, which has almost become the standard of how a lot of other vendors do today. But back in 2016, we were the first one to show the benefits of showing what, contact keys and everything is that on the side of the phone, where you can go ahead and basically mimic many of the speed dials or BLF keys that people are used to back in 2016, and it migrates all the way up today. And as we move forward, we have built really really some specialized phones that concentrate on hospitality. And as of today, what we released back in 2018, our X and XU series phones have become the most popular brand that we have moving forward now that we migrate to the V series. Here's where I'm going to show a little bit of our advanced technology in terms of what Linkville has got to offer. In the past, everything that is going to be Linkville related is all shaded in the dark gray, or what I call almost a teal type of blue color. And what we had in the past was really, analog and digital PTT. What is PTT? Is really push to talk, because very often when it comes to security or reaching people, people had the ability to almost have their own proprietary technology that enabled point-to-point communication. We're going to be offering the same thing in the so-called blue, in the green shaded area. First thing I'm going to talk about at the latter part of our webinar is our Wi-Fi phone. But as you can also tell, we're also going to be introducing ROIP gateways as well as LTE and ROIP gateways. And what ROIP is really radio over IP, basically providing many of these type of communications, but over an IP environment. Because very often when you upgrade, a building or an office or a home, even from the old analog into digital, there are lots and lots of endpoints that are in the far reaches that really need to sort of get upgraded as well. And once you put it all within a single IP environment, you could then also manage this entire environment across what we call our Fanville device management system. And what this is really a remote location where you can go ahead and deploy and manage all the endpoints that you bring out into the public. And that's a real benefit that Wi-Fi sort of brings you. And I'm going to actually show you a quick demonstration at the end here that really provides you really quick access in being able to configure not only our phones, but being able to really program these gateways all from a single interface. So in addition to that, you could also manage a lot of these things through our console IP phone. What we have here is just a solid screen, but we also have the touchscreen ones as well, depending on what thing you want to choose. Now let's move on to the W611 portable phone. This phone has really captured a lot of attention. It's a new arrival, as well as our debut product for Linkville moving forward. What this really does is this is really what we call a durable phone that complies with IP67. And what IP67 is really a standardized durability standard, whereby you can actually have this machine, this device that's dust as well as providing some level of waterproofness. I recall a picture that we did in an exhibit on a show one time where someone actually took this phone and submitted it under a water-based vase, and then you can actually have this thing operate under some water, so you don't have to necessarily worry about damp devices. I don't expect people to be walking through a lake with this, but it does have the ability to go ahead and do these things. But in addition to that, it also provides 4 SIP lines. And what that means is this almost brings a wireless desk phone community into the marketplace. In the past, Wi-Fi designs, it was great in terms of having dial tone capabilities, bringing that out from your desk all the way out to a remote location where you could pick up or pick up a call. What we're trying to do is take it to the next step by bringing additional 4 SIP lines, but in addition to that, we're also bringing DSS/functional keys. And I'm going to actually show you with a device that's on right beside me on how easy it is to access the function keys, because when you go to a mobile device, what you end up giving up is a lot of functionality and portability that you end up having. Beyond those function keys, what you also have is the ability to pick up a mobile call. As you note in some of the other solutions that we bring, like an access key, some person might be able to give you a call and you might need to access a quick function key to be able to allow that gate to open, and you can do that with this phone. It also has intercoms, conferencing, Bluetooth. So what this really is, it takes mobile phones up to the next level, complying with both the Wi-Fi 6 as well as 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and bringing really mobility to hotels, home offices, and and warehouses, wherever you go moving forward. What you also have is really a color screen. Obviously, now you're going to, beyond this, you're going to show a color screen. I'm going to show you that in an instant. But you also have backlit keyboards. Everything that you can really think about is something that we brought in to really make this very, very economical. And everything is accessible within one hand's reach. You know, in terms of design, with one hand, you can really reach the menu key as well as the display key, all within the hand's reach. And it also has a USB-C port that's actually located on the phone. Why is this important? Because we expect you to sort of carry this one device outside of its charger in your backpack, in your luggage to travel with you, because Wi-Fi exists everywhere. Wherever there exists Wi-Fi, you can then go ahead and entertain this, and you can actually recharge this device with a USB-C port that's located on the bottom here, so that you have a lot of flexibility in being able to put together a wireless infrastructure for this. Obviously, we brought a lot of high fidelity in terms of being able to support all the major codecs. It has both static as well as dynamic codecs that we have. The dynamic meaning Opus, so that if you happen to be in a location with low bandwidth, then you can go ahead and entertain codecs that give you that low bandwidth capability while preserving a lot of the voice integrity across the line. But if you happen to have more, you can actually graduate to the G722, which is our high bandwidth, and provide you with clear voice quality, as well as through the earset or the speakerphone that's integrated onto the phone itself. I talked a little bit about the IP67 standard, and this is what I talked about, where you go ahead and actually deploy this phone underwater, where you can actually submerge up to a basic level. But you also have the ability of being able to drop. You know, we actually specify this about 1.8 meters or about 6 feet, which really accommodates most people's, you know, belt driven. I don't know people that have a waist height of up to 6 feet or up to 1.8 meters high, but it can handle most drops without any issues. Then of course, it's able to handle a lot of the smoke and dust as well. So this is really made to be very, very doable right out of the box. Of course, obviously, people thought about power savings. And when you think about power savings, the first generation Wi-Fi phones that were built many years ago, there was always an issue. But now that the technology has actually graduated, now we have a power that enough to provide you with all-day talk time, where you can have a long conference call, or you can have 200 hours of standby time. So you don't necessarily have to be religious in being able to charge it every single hour on the hour. You could basically wear this thing all day, and if you're not talking all day, you can also have this on standby with you, so that it actually works with you. And if you've actually taken this phone apart, you'll actually notice that the battery is protected under two casings. The battery has a case itself, inside the external case as well, which really adopts the ability for it to last a good long time. And it provides you with a lot of capabilities of adopting to the brand new Wi-Fi 6 capability as well, when that technology starts getting introduced into the marketplace. Obviously, the number of application scenarios is really great. You can go ahead and apply it to warehouses, hotels, residential districts, and villas. I'm just going to show just one or two examples moving forward. Whereas in the enterprise, this starts bringing in many of the other types of endpoint devices that Fanvil has. Beyond our W611W phone that you can have moving around, you also have receptionist phones that provide you really, I think, one of the marketplace's most buttons in the world, where we have 106 keypads right in front, coupled with an access point device, which is based on video. And this access point device can actually show video as well as audio, not only to our phones, but we also introduced indoor stations, where it's an alternative to a phone that you can sort of mount on a wall, and aesthetically it looks a lot pleasing, where you actually have pieces that are solid state, or you can have one with buttons. It really depends on what you want to do. That could display who's out in front, and you can actually scan which camera you want to go ahead and monitor, either through a flat screen or basically through a desktop function within the enterprise space. Obviously, you have warehouses as well. You know, warehouses is very interesting, because here you're actually operating under a forklift environment, and very often in this case it comes along with a belt clip. But what we also have besides the access point is a lot of the Wi-Fi access stations that's also part of our roadmap that we're going to be bringing out that'll provide direct connection into these wireless devices, really providing you with a plug and play type of technology, because it's going to recognize each other's solution so that we can go ahead and recognize that to provide you with mobility moving forward. Beyond that, if you just want to keep this on your belt, it also comes in with a Bluetooth 5.0. This is a big upgrade in terms of mobile technology, where people can actually put in their ear pods if they wanted to, or whatever headsets they want, and be able to have this hooked in to a backpack on their belt and be able to listen in on any of the calls that they get over Bluetooth, as I mentioned earlier before. Now what I'm going to do now is move on to the demonstration portion. Now what I'm going to do is basically go over the basic setup and provide the classic hardware update type of things. Now overall the phone is very, very intuitive, and probably any person who is technically inclined would be able to pair it up in Bluetooth and go up through Wi-Fi. But what I'm going to do is just give you a couple of tips that will avoid you in being able to have to open up the user manual and kind of get into it as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and show a quick phone that I have right by my desktop here. And what this is, I have this on my desk side, and I'm just going to kind of go over many of the things. Now, the first thing you do when you power it up, you may see a device that looks like this. And what I want to do is being able to show you how do you go ahead and pair this to the wireless communication. And then yet in this thing, you have really what we call a wireless and a contact base. But when you go into the wireless menu, you can go ahead and press this and actually see some of the wireless menu here. Now, what you want to do is go over one in terms of the basic setup, press it, and then when you go down, you can configure the language, time and date. But what you want to do here is actually press the wireless LAN key. And then what you have is a quick menu. And when you press available network, I can go ahead and press this. And what this does, this will actually go through and see what type of Wi-Fi systems that you have on your system. So I obviously have Fanville, and I go ahead and connect up to Fanville. And once you connect it, it's going to ask you and give you a sort of a prompt here and saying, what is the password? What you want to do here is being able to access the pound key, which enables you to toggle that key from capital to alphanumeric and lowercase keys so that you could put in whatever password you need on your system so that once you log in. Now, once you log in, that's the key point. The next step here is then being able to identify what type of IP has been assigned to this device, because then once you get the IP address of this device, you could then go into the main menu display. In that case, you could then go back to the menu and check out the status of this key. And once you press the status, you will note that you will have a network key. And in the network key, I will go ahead and put in a status here. And obviously from my local network, you actually have a local address called 10.0028. And what I do then is I go in the back here, and that basically is a quick setup. Now, before I jump off of here, what I want to do is then show you the DSS keys and how easy it is to go ahead and access. Everybody's familiar with the keypad that you have here, but what I want to show here is if you press on the left side of it, you actually have a DSS keys that are 1 through 8. And here you may not notice, but there are actually 2 different windows that you can have access to. So you have 8 on one side, or what you can do is you can actually have, based on the other side, push on the other side and have access to the other 8 as well. So you actually have 16 speed dial keys that you have access to. And I'm going to show you the whole idea about this. And then besides here, you could also show that on the side, it has this push to talk button, which enables you to sort of multicast and being able to show many of the different people that you can notify at once in case you have an emergency or things like that. So with that said, given that we actually have the key and showing what type of IP address, now I want to show you here is on the top, you notice that this session has 10.0028 that I put in here. And what I want to put here is just basically do admin, and this is the standard point. It's admin, admin, and once you click them both, what you end up with is really the standard GUI interface within our phone. Okay, now once you get into this GUI interface, what I suggest is for those who have actually deployed our phones in the past, this menu becomes very, very familiar. You can actually look at the system. You can actually program different lines of up to really 4 SIP keys that you can see here. You could identify up to 4 SIP accounts. But let's go back up to the system, because in the system, what I suggest people to do is once they log in to the Wi-Fi network is go into the upgrade section. Okay, and once you get into the upgrade section, I would concentrate in here. I've already upgraded here, but what you can do is press the select key. And what the select key is you're going to go ahead and download the latest software for this LinkVille device to make sure that we have many of the enhanced features as well as any of the initial bugs that might be addressed as we go ahead and move forward. Where do we find the actual key? You can really go to our website, which is the Fanville website here. Go to support from our main page and hit the download center. And once you hit the download center, what you're going to find is actually the LinkVille device here, and you can actually find the firmware, documents, as well as video for all of the different devices. And here's our latest Wi-Fi, latest firmware, where you can actually pick this, download onto your PC, and then being able to, once you download it, you could select it here, click upgrade, and go back and have a cup of tea or a drink of coffee, and when you come back, it should be all done. That's where really a lot of the things come into play. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about being able to program the function keys, which is something that everybody wants on a mobile device. And when you press the function key, as I mentioned, there are really 2 types of pages that are available. There is page 1, which is the left side of the button, and then page 2, which is on the right side of the key. And you can actually download each key to really support a memory key, to support a line, to support multicast paging if you want to, or any of the different action URLs that you want to. These are the same features that are really available in our desk phones as well. But what we've done is being able to bring all of these functionality into a mobile system that enables you to carry all of that functionality with you. So that's kind of what I want to show in terms of the biggest functionality. And obviously in terms of phone books and all that, these are real quick ways where you can go ahead and actually download many of the contact lists. This is actually my mobile phone number, not mobile, but actually my desk phone number in case you want to get a hold of me, that you can go in and give myself a call. But you have all types of security access here that you can gain access to. So having said that, why don't I go ahead and go in the background, and I think go into this key here. Okay, and the next screen is, now I'm going to move into questions and answers. I appreciate everybody's time today. Now I'm going to go over to any questions and answers that people might have and devote this time to go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and see if I could bring forth any of the questions that I have. Hang on just a moment. Okay. Is the user interface available in the French language? I don't remember off the top of my head. In fact, hang on just a moment when I go ahead and take a look at that. In fact, I'm going to go over and take a quick look at the language. It is, yes, in fact, I do see a French language. It supports Italian, French, Spanish, Asian, Chinese language, many different languages. So the answer is yes. I just looked at the phone itself. Do you know whether standby time is related to Wi-Fi 6? No, actually, the standby time that is specified isn't necessarily linked to Wi-Fi 6. So the 200 standby is really linked to its own standby. It'll sit by and stand by and consume low. But once you have it on a Wi-Fi 6, it'll likely extend the spec even further. Does it have vibrate mode? I don't believe it does. I think it has a ringtone, but I don't believe it has vibrate mode. Do you have templates for the wireless phone? The answer is yes. In fact, we just released templates that you can actually ask any of the sales, Fanville salespeople, or perhaps any of your distributors for this template. We could provide you with this template so that you can manually update 3CX for it and be able to program this. And that's one of the key things about this Wi-Fi phone, is that you can be able to go ahead and take this template, update it so that it automates this process for you as much as it can. Is there a portal where you can register a program for multiple devices at the same time? Well, in terms of having a portal, what we could do, what we suggest is always having a single portal. We have the Fanville Device Management Cloud system. So I suggest you possibly reach out to your Fanville contact and be able to get the FDMCS account, where you can go ahead and not only register this Wi-Fi phone, but be also register many of the desk phones, door phones, intercoms, and manage everything on the one interface, which provides you that one portal that you can go ahead and do. Is it possible to change headset background image? I'm not sure what you mean by the headset, but because we have support for Bluetooth 5.0, I've also paired my Apple iPods as well as many other different headsets to it, and it works without any issues. But I'm not sure what you meant by the background image of that. But it does pair up with headsets. What are the requirements for existing Wi-Fi infrastructure? There are no, let me see, interference. Okay, there are really no requirements. I mean, I've gone ahead and connected mine at home without any issues whatsoever. I think what I suggest is, as the number of Wi-Fi phones start increasing, what I highly suggest is you may establish a QoS policy on your Wi-Fi infrastructure so that you can provide the Wi-Fi access some QoS data so that you can give it higher priority on the network. Does this phone provision with 3CX? I would say not as yet. What I would suggest is that we do have templates that are available today that you can upload onto the 3CX system so that you can provide some auto provisioning with that. Let me see, that's another duplicate. Is there any VPN clients built in? That's a good question. I will take that, Stephen Mears. I'll take that as a tabled item because I'll double check on the VPN support. I didn't look into that features that much. Can it receive incoming video calls? No, I think this device is really meant for audio only. So that, but what it can do is be able to go ahead and take a look at many of the audio calls, and you could actually find out who's at the door and be able to go ahead and click in those type of things. And that's what you do. If you want video calls, I highly suggest you go to our desk phones, which has an H.264 video codec, giving you that ability to see everybody in VGA quality. Does it support stun? I mean, I think there are many devices. I'm not going to go over many of the features on it, but I'm sure it can over not only just 3CX, but many other devices as well. Why should a client prefer this phone instead of a cheap smartphone together? One of the things that I may mention earlier is that there is a cheap smartphone that you can use. Many of the businesses may go ahead and invest in a smartphone if you want to, but it's a dedicated phone. Very often I get the reply of hearing about using a personal phone. Very often, people may have hesitancy in using their personal phone, and it's a real big gray area in being able to look at the legal aspects of using a personal business phone on their personal device. Many people who have total control of a very small organization may not have an issue, but when you have a group of 8, 12 or more, then you have to think about what type of control you want over endpoints in terms of security. You may lack things like having the corporate directory that's available. Once you have the corporate directory located in the person's remote phone, do you want that access, outside? All of these things have to be put into consideration. Do you have real life experiences with standby time? I think in terms of life experiences, I mean, I think you can go ahead and use it. Everybody will have different standby times. They'll have call times as well. People, you can go ahead and mount the different locations, but in general, you might find that the times could even be further if you're on a Wi-Fi 6-based system, or it can be shorter depending on how many calls that you take within a given day. Because obviously when you use Wi-Fi 5.0 or have connections with 2.4, both of those are different frequencies that really require different parameters on it. So it really is a dynamic system. Is FDMCS the same as FDPS? No, actually, FDPS is actually just our redirection server, and FDPS is just really what we call our provisioning server. And what that server does is that provides the ability for people to load their MAC addresses onto a single server, and once you have that address loaded onto that single server, it could then point to whatever provisioning system. What FDMCS does is that actually combines both the redirection as well as the provisioning service under one heading. Now you can use them separately, but what FDPS is a discrete redirection service only, so you're not really interested in the provisioning portion. So those are two pieces, and if you buy FDMCS, both of those are kind of combined together, and depends on which one you want to do, okay? What is the battery life? On the earlier slides, the battery life is really 9 hours of talk time. So you can really spend all day talking on the phone, or conversely, you can have about 200 hours of standby time, assuming that you have no calls whatsoever. You could put this on the side and actually have it mounted next to you and be on standby for 200 hours. But obviously, if you take calls here and there, that'll obviously take things away. Are there any interoperability guides for Wi-Fi vendors such as Cisco, Ruckus? No, in terms of the end user, I just demonstrated earlier on what the user interface is. It'll just ask you for what the SSID is, and you could put in choose the SSID that the phone configures to, and then once you put in that SSID, it's going to ask you for the password. And toggling the password, you could actually press the pound key, which enables you to toggle the capital or the numeric, lowercase, uppercase, alphanumerics to put in your password to give you that ability to go ahead into the phone, give you that ability, okay? And I think the last but not least, what are the next models to appear under this new sub-brand of Fanvil? One of the things that we've done, as I introduced earlier, is beyond this handset, we're going to likely come out with Wi-Fi access points, some of the gateways, and as well as some of the LTE supplemented gateways as well as maybe even the remote push-to-talk devoted handsets as well. There are lots of things that are up in the map. That's about as much as I can share you, but I can't tell you exactly what time frame we're going to come out, but I think it's going to make a lot of sense. Whereas we build up this whole wireless infrastructure, we're going to have all of these basic IP endpoints that will be accessible to everybody out there, okay? So having said that, I think that is going to be it. I think I answered most of the questions out there. I'll stick around for any time for anybody who has any more questions. But given that, I want to thank everybody for your valued time today. I hope you have a healthy week in front of you. And I look forward to hopefully crossing paths with you someday, okay? Again, have a wonderful day, and thanks for coming to Fanvil and having our introduction of our first Linkful product, W6611W. Okay, take care. And oh, by the way, I also want to mention, depending on what region you're located, I suggest you maybe reach out to your distributor or perhaps the Fanvil regional manager, because we do have a lot of promotions that are coming out under this W611 product as well. You may ask for them, and we may come out with different promotions that might give you an idea that'll give you a great way to sort of test out this product as well. Okay, with that said, farewell everybody, and stay healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.